So, today I kind of wanted to divulge into the idea that our external reality is a projection of our internal way of being. And I kind of started to think recently that if in my life there are things that I may not prefer, if there are things in your life that you may want to change, you may think, why is this happening to me? Why am I put in this situation right now that I absolutely would prefer to not exist in? Right? And then when you find yourself in these places, it's always kind of easy to fall into the idea of being like a victim. It's easy to feel that life is doing things onto you. And I have kind of almost fallen to that myself, but instead I decided to think of it in terms of our reality being like a mirror. Because if you think about it, right, in order to see ourselves, we need a mirror. So in our lives, what better mirror is there to have than each other? So I think of it that every person that we meet mirrors to us our own selves. They mirror to us the aspects within us that we may have suppressed, forgotten, or neglected. And so does our external environment, our external reality, and things that we are put up against, things that we have to go through and conquer. And oftentimes we may not prefer that, but there's always a lesson, no matter what it is, no matter what life is making you do. There's always a lesson. And that's kind of like what I've been trying to figure out myself as well. One thing I found is that, especially with people, let's just say there are people in your life that you may not prefer. Maybe they get on your nerves, maybe you kind of get into arguments with them, and it's especially often true with family or maybe people that you've had in your life that you may have to be with, exist in at a job or home that you cannot really get away from. And it's kind of like, why is this happening to me? Why are these people being the way that they are? And one thing I learned is that every single person in my life is literally a reflection of me. They were just projecting to me my own self. So what I found is that oftentimes I would try to push these people away. I would get so annoyed. I'd be like, oh my God, please leave. But they would not leave. And these people would drain my energy like crazy. But what I did actually is I just did this recently. I meditated a lot and I changed myself internally. I changed the way I saw things, I changed the way I acted, and I gave myself permission to be myself authentically and unapologetically, because I was like, if you're always being nice to everybody, you're likely not being nice to yourself. And that was the case for me. And that doesn't mean be mean to anyone. We're not trying to be mean, but we're not trying to be mean to ourselves either. The goal is to find a win-win situation, and I kind of sat with that for a little while, and I came to a place where I changed myself internally, the way I saw things, and I gave myself permission to just be myself, to say what I felt, and the best way that I could find it was so respectful to the other person, but also respectful to me. So I was not abandoning myself, and that kind of just drew boundaries in my relationships. There were people that I had, friends that were guys, that I knew they were liked me more than a friend, but I didn't. And I made it very clear that we are just friends, but I could tell that even though I told that to them, I said, listen, we're just friends. They still in their head had ideas that we were somehow more than that. And I could tell. Sometimes you just know. And so I had a talk with them. I said, listen, I respect your feelings, but I just don't feel the same way about you. So I wanted to make it clear that we are on the same page. Because sometimes what happens is that we all live in our own little bubble. And inside of our own little bubble, we all have ideas of each other and of ourselves, the way that people see us and the way that we see ourselves, as well as the way that we think people see us. Because the way that people see us is not always the way that we think they see us. It's just this kind of interesting thing that people see us the way that we think they see us, not actually how they see us. So I had a talk with these people and I said, listen, I respect your feelings, but I want to have a one-on-one chat with you just to let you know that I don't see you that way. I just want to be friends. And it was interesting to me because after that, they kind of said, okay, but one of them, we just kind of stopped talking. It's interesting to me. And the other one, they said, okay, sure, yeah, I'm okay with that. But then a week later, they said, you know what, I reject because I like you more than a friend. And I said, okay, well, I respect your feelings, but that's just not going to work for me. And it's kind of interesting because people come and go. And I've always seen that these people in my life, the things that they felt about me was what I felt about them. And the things that I felt about them were the things that I felt about myself. So literally everything was a reflection. So I kind of thought, okay, so if something is in my life, every single person is like a teacher. Everyone that I meet is like a teacher to me, and every situation as well. And there are things that maybe we don't prefer. We're put into situations where there are just people that they may not be actually reflections of you. They may just be there to teach you that there are things to do things differently. There are ways to do things differently, and they may simply be there to make us stronger, to make us become more of ourselves, and to kind of grow and develop into a new way of being. And one thing I learned is that everything in our lives serves a purpose. So something is happening for you in your life, it serves a purpose. And I know because I am kind of forced into doing things I don't want to do at the moment until I leave. I'm leaving in about a week and a half, and until I leave, I still have to work at the job that I'm working, and I really don't prefer that. But it's needed for me to have enough of what I need to have before I actually am able to leave the country to go see my mom. So it's almost like I'm trying to see, why is this in my life? Why do I keep putting myself into these situations where I'm forced to do things that I don't want to do? And it really comes down from within, from the way I saw myself, because everything in our lives happens from based on how we see ourselves, the way we define things. If I define experience as negative, it will be seen for me and I will experience it as negative. And it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. I know that there are things that we may not prefer, we may not want to have, but it's there. Okay, like it's there. It's like a door. That door is there. Okay, I cannot just get angry and get up and rip out the door because I don't like the door there. It's there, okay? Like the hallway has no door, it's empty. But things that are happening are already happening. They're there. So the most we can do is we can find a reason they are, because I learned one thing. When it no longer serves a purpose, people and situations go away. It's like magic. It works like magic. When we find a purpose, a lesson, a reason for why things are there, and we resolve it, we allow it to be there, we learn from it, we accept it, it goes away like magic. And the key here I found is that it's not about trying to resist it, it's not about trying to make it go away. Because sometimes there are things that we may want to make go away, but it just doesn't, right? But that's okay. Everything is a reflection of who you are being within yourself. And it's not about a conscious awareness at all times either. There are things that we are unaware of, that we are being and feeling, but nonetheless, we are being and feeling those things. And so it's just important to become aware of that. And if you're not aware of it, then you can look at your definitions of normal. What is normal for you? What is your definition of normalcy? And also reality. What is your definition of reality? What is real for you? Because I learned one thing, is that everything I saw as real, it was just literally a belief I have taken on. So everything that I saw as reality was not actually reality in the way that I thought of it. Because our reality is just what we believe to be true. What you believe is real is what you believe to be true. And it took me a little while with this one because, well, but we take things to be normal. We say, but it's normal to worry in this case. It's normal to feel fear. It's normal to have stress. It's normal to have this kind of reaction. And while that may be the case, it's also because we have taken on this idea that it's normal. But we don't have to believe that. We can choose to say, okay, it's okay to feel how you feel. It's okay to have that feeling. It's normal for you to have that feeling, and only in the sense of that it's there. But you can still choose if this is what you prefer to have happen. So for example, I used to for a very long time think that it was normal for me to have people that would just always leave. I was like, it's just normal for me that people come and people go. And I haven't had relationships in my life longer than a few months because people would just always leave. That was normal for me. Until I started to look at it and I said, does it have to be this way? Why is that there, right? Why do people always leave? Like they just come and they leave. And I found that the reason people come and go, it was because for me, I was not being true to myself. So the mirrors in my life, the people in my life that came and went, they came and went because they were reflections of me that were not true to me. So they never stuck around. If I learn to be true to me, the people I meet are then true to me. And then when I did this inner work, I actually found that people in my life that were friends when I was being true to me kind of reconnected with me. And that was so amazing because I decided that it doesn't make sense to be inauthentic in any of your relationships. Because if you have a relationship with anybody, what is the reason to be there unless it makes you happy? There are responsibilities, work, and all of that, but apart from that, we often hang on to things. We hang on to people and friends that we're just used to having in our lives, not because of actually any legitimate reason, but just because it's something that we're used to. We kind of hang on to the old, we hang on to the comfort and the known because most of us are scared of the unknown and we are fearing losing that sense of self and that sense of identity. But that's okay, because we've developed that sense of self. The self that we have, we kind of developed as we went over time. We didn't have it when we were born. We were born naked, and naked in terms of our mental capacity of the self. We were born with the ideas of self that were not our own. We didn't have anything. So the people that we became because we developed these ideas over time. And if we develop them, we can develop new ones that actually fit our joy more and that we more prefer. But it's just like a dog that's holding on to the bone, right? If a dog is holding on to the bone, in order for the dog to get a new one that fits his joy best, he needs to let go of the one that he has. Because if he is holding on to the old one, there is no space for the new, right? It's kind of like if I have these Buddhist prayer beads on my hand and I want to have a nice bracelet, there's no space to put it. Okay, there's no space to put it. It's not going to fit. And if I'm going to try to fit it on this hand, it's not going to look pretty because I'm going to be forcing things. So to have something new, you have to take off the old. And that can sometimes be scary and uncomfortable because we don't know if we'll make something new. We don't know if we'll have something new. But let me say this one thing, is that I learned that the universe does not leave empty space, okay? It just doesn't. If we let go of something, and if we trust that something that is more accurate for our own joy, something that's more representative of who we are will come, then it will come. And it just takes willingness to say, my reality is a reflection of me. We're self-made, whether or not we prefer it, whether or not it's easy to admit to that, and it's easy to kind of blame others. It's easy to say, yeah, but these people did all this thing to me. Look at what they did to me. And yes, all that is very valid, but it's also there for a reason. It's a lesson. And often I found that pain that I've gone through, I kind of allowed it to happen. Like all the people that crossed my boundaries, I kind of allow them to do it. It's like I can sit here and complain about all the boundary violations I've had, which I'm still learning to heal from. But the hard truth is that I allowed them to do it. I didn't stand up for myself internally or externally. So yeah, I hope that it makes some sense. And yeah, just keep being you.